Games like tonight are the really, really fun games as a Mavs fan. These are the games that reiterate my opinion that this team is a serious championship contender, and this was a blast of a game to watch. In Golden State against the Warriors, a very, very good team that has been playing pretty competitive basketball. Yes, they've struggled more as of late, but a really impressive offensive performance from the Mavs tonight. The type of game that just shows the nearly unlimited ceiling that this team has, especially on that end of the court when things are flowing. Luka, with the exception of the OKC game, has been incredible since returning from injury and was amazing tonight. Klay Thompson had his best game of the season in a revenge game of sorts, his second game back in Golden State, but still, it was cool to hear his interview after the game as well and hear him talk about how much this one meant to him. It was a lot of fun to watch this game, and I think the Mavs played unbelievably well, and there's a lot to talk about. So before we hop into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 2,000 subscriber mark on the channel. Uploading on this channel every single day, multiple videos a day. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it and let's talk about the game. So first things first, they win by 10. Luka with a ridiculous 45-point performance. Klay with a season high at 29 on really great efficiency. Kyrie with a decently efficient 21 and 8. PJ Washington with a solid 13 points, 4 rebounds. Not his best rebounding game, but just overall unbelievably efficient game. Nearly 60% from the field and over 51% from three. This is the type of game that is just, it's just hard to replicate. And the Warriors shot unbelievably well. That's the thing. They played like really good offensively. 50% from three. This was a NBA record in terms of combined 3-point attempts, or sorry, 3-point makes by a team, by two teams in a game. Which, I mean, say what you will about what that means about the state of basketball. I think that's something that has been discussed a lot recently and can be discussed some more, but that's not the point of this video. The Warriors shot the ball really well from three and played really well offensively in general, and yet just simply were not able to have an answer for Luka and Klay tonight, especially Luka. It was just an incredible performance, and it's the type of game that I just want to start with Luka. It's the type of game that only one other player in the NBA is capable of having, in all honesty, besides Luka Doncic, and that's Nikola Jokic. I mean, say what you will about Giannis. Giannis is probably the second best player in the league this season. I would agree with that take. I think when Luka is at his peak, there is nobody in basketball better than him except for arguably Nikola Jokic. His offensive firepower is just unbelievable. And again, he's having the best defensive season of his career as well. 45 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, almost 70% from the field, and 83.5 true shooting, 16 to 23 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3, and 7 to 9 from the free throw line, and only 3 turnovers with 13 assists. Just incredible. I mean, truly an incredible individual game by Luka Doncic. And the thing is, the Warriors are actually a pretty good defensive team. Like when you look at the numbers for the Warriors this season, I've talked about it in my other videos, they're winning with defense this year. And that's been the most impressive thing about the Warriors at this point in the season. And the thing is, they have multiple really good perimeter point of attack defenders. Guys like Kuminga, guys like Andrew Wiggins just did not have an answer for Luka tonight as a scorer, as a playmaker. And I thought his defensive impact was great as well. He has been absolutely phenomenal with the exception of that OKC game since he came back from injury, like I said, and is playing at an MVP level. I mean, he is. These last few games, obviously with the exception of that OKC game. And look, I think a lot of people watched that OKC game and made the assumption, okay, OKC's better than the Mavs. They're the team to beat in the West. And look, I don't want to sound like a homer here. Let's remember, I predicted the OKC Thunder to win the NBA title this year. I personally think they're better than the Mavs overall. I'm not going to sit here and be a homer and allow that to impact my opinions. But this Mavs team is 100% capable of winning the NBA championship this year. They have all the weapons they need. They are good enough on any given night to beat any team, and they are good enough, I believe, to beat any team in the NBA in a 7-game series if they play to their offensive potential. And with Luka playing like this, Klay Thompson doing what he is able to do as well, which again was that 9 of 14, 7 of 11 from 3, ultra efficient performance in his own right. When you have Klay playing at this level, which again, he's not going to play at every night, the Mavs are almost impossible to beat. He is. This was shades of old Klay in a lot of ways on the offensive end of the court. And it's the type of stuff that, again, like I said, he's not going to give it to you every night. But when he does, this team's nearly impossible to beat. And I think a lot of people have written off Klay a little bit at this point in his career, more than they should. He's still an unbelievably elite shooter. His spacing that he provides really improves the Mavs' offensive potential. And I think he is still an incredibly valuable piece to this team, who's going to be a huge part of their contention as the season progresses. But I do want to talk about Luka's defense a little bit, at least. I just don't think, and it's becoming more and more talked about as of late on social media and stuff, but I do not think it is being talked about enough in total how good Luka has been defensively this season and how he's able to turn that into defense and offense as well. If you watch this clip from tonight, this is a great encapsulation of what you can do. Look, he overruns the play. This is a shot for Podziemski if he wants, but he immediately recovers, gets back into position, harasses the shooter from behind. Podziemski's going to have to shoot a leaning forward three if he's going to shoot that, recovers, and then just, look, you can question Podziemski's decision-making a little bit if you want, but look at this. Just absolutely caging Podziemski in this corner all over everything, and then pushes the ball in transition. Perfect pass. Klay in the shooting pocket, knockdown. That is something, there is nobody on the Mavs last season who was making this play that Klay Thompson just made on a consistent basis. How many players in the NBA are catching this and shooting it immediately and knocking that down in transition with consistency? There aren't a ton. You still just don't have very many pure shooters in the NBA who can do what Klay Thompson can do. And I think the versatility that Klay provides offensively and the improvement from Luka defensively are two of the biggest reasons that this Mavs team is a serious championship contender this year. And two reasons I think that just don't get discussed enough. Like, finally, people are starting to talk about Luka's defensive improvement, but it's not enough. He is the numbers say he's a great defender this year. Whether you actually believe he's a great defender or not, I think is up for question. And I get that he does have some defensive lapses and some lazy possessions moments and even at times lazy games where it's like, this dude needs to give you more defensively. I agree. Luka's defense frustrates me at times. But when he's trying on defense, he is a really, really good defensive player. And his defensive inadequacy has been way overblown, especially this season. And it's the reason that the Mavs, after a rough start to the season where they were at 7-7, have won 10 of their last, well, I think they were actually 5-7. They've won 12 of their last 14 games. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Their net rating is a +7 at this point. They're only 3.5 games back of the 1 seed, only, more importantly, 1 game back of the 2 seed. I think OKC's kind of going to run away with the 1 seed. I do believe they're the best team in the West, at least regular season-wise for sure. But I think if the Mavs can get that 2 seed, that gives them home court advantage until the conference finals, which realistically, at least right now, to me, feels like it's probably going to be an OKC-Dallas rematch. Now, I don't want to write off the Grizzlies. I don't want to write off the Rockets. I think both those teams are really good, and there are some other teams in the West as well that are certainly going to be threats. Teams like the Nuggets, maybe the Suns if they ever get healthy. The Timberwolves have looked better as of late. The Warriors, yes, they're struggling recently, but the trade for Schroeder, I think, was a good move, and I think they're not done making additions to this team as well. The West is very, very, very competitive. But I think the Mavs are the second best team in this Western Conference right now, 100%. And the main reason why, in all honesty, is because they are so good on both ends of the court. Offensively, again, you got to factor in they had a slow start to the season, but they are up to the 5th best offensive rating in the league. Defensively, they're up to the 9th best defensive rating in the league. They have the 6th best net rating in the league. All of that with a 5-7 start. If you look at the last 15 games for the Mavs, I would assume these numbers are even better. Top 4 offensive rating, top 11, I guess, defensive rating. So not quite as good in that aspect, but the 5th best net rating in the league in their last 15 games. They are clearly in that upper echelon of NBA teams. And I think they are playing elite level basketball. And when you get the type of performance from Klay that they got tonight, this team is almost unbeatable, I think, because the spacing that they can provide, the unbelievable control that Luka plays with of the offense, the improvement defensively, the versatility of so many high-level role players, guys like PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, who didn't play tonight, Quentin Grimes, Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford as your center duo, etc. There's so much talent on this team. They're so cohesive. They have such good chemistry. They clearly love playing with each other. It's beautiful. And as a Mavs fan, it's the best Mavs team that I think we've ever had, besides obviously 2011 when we won the title. And it's so much fun to watch. And again, I really think that the most impressive thing about this team has been the improvement defensively. I mean, Luka, just plain and simple, has been really good defensively this season. Derek Lively is one of the best defensive bigs in basketball, period. I mean, he is in the literal 99th percentile in terms of points per possession versus on-off statistics. But Luka's been a plus defender this season. Like, people talk about Klay as in terms of his regression defensively as well, and I don't think it's fair to him. Like, when you look at Klay's numbers, he's still a above average defender in terms of points per possession, field goal percentage, all that type of stuff. Like, he is still playing quality defense. And I think this team as a whole, yes, there needs to be some assistance and some improvement from certain guys at times. Gafford has probably been, I would say, and the numbers back it up, the biggest net negative for this team at times. but he's still an important piece as well. And I don't think he'll play as much in the playoffs. I think the versatility of the roster with the ability to play PJ Washington as a small ball 5, some of these bigger, more physical forwards that they have will create some opportunities for this Mavs team. But dude, this team is awesome. They're a lot of fun to watch. And tonight's game was the perfect game that gives you a great picture of what this team can be at their peak. At their peak offensively, they are as good as any team in basketball, plain and simple. And they are a serious NBA title contender. And I don't say that lightly. I think there's only a few title contenders in basketball. You have OKC, Boston, Cleveland, and then realistically, I still think the Mavs are that 4th team. After that, it's probably the Grizzlies and then maybe the Rockets. If the Rockets had a number 1 option, I'd have them higher, but they just quite simply don't have that offensive leader that they really, I think, need. But this team's awesome. They're really fun to watch, and I am having a blast as of late with this Mavs team, with the loss against OKC notwithstanding, which again, OKC was loaded up for that game. Like, they were clearly absolutely jazzed up for that game. Had a bit of an outlier shooting game as well from 3, and were so incredibly locked in defensively. You got to give OKC credit. They came into that game with a playoff level of intensity. I don't feel like the Mavs really did as much. And it was an impressive win for OKC, but that's been about the only low spot in the last pretty close to a month at this point for the Mavs. They're playing elite level basketball and looking like a serious championship contender. And it's exciting for me as a Mavs fan. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.